Hey YouTube, Sam here. Well, you might be noticing that I'm sitting actually in the area of my welding table, and if you've already watched these videos, you'll probably know I've started tearing apart my welding table. It's kind of behind us here, parts of it. But you also might notice the words on this box. Yep, I pulled the trigger because my wife said I could. I full on admit I don't spend money without my wife's permission. And quite honestly, this was her money and she bought me a gift. So I very much appreciate it. I've been wanting a new welder for probably almost since I bought the old welder. And like I said, I did the video on that one. I really do. It's been a good welder. It's really done the job well. You know, well, it's done the job. We'll put it that way. But hopefully this one will do the job well. And I'll have more confidence in this one. We'll see. I'll open the box here, but I'll go ahead and tell you it's the MiG 175 that I got. It's got the spool gun and that kind of stuff. And quite honestly, why did I buy this one? The price. For what it supposedly will do, there's no other welder out there for this price. There just isn't. There's a few that are close, but you don't get the spool gun. You'd have to pay a couple $100 more for that. And admittedly, I don't plan on doing a lot of aluminum stuff or anything like that, so I didn't buy it for that specific reason. Mainly, I bought this for the price, and I'm hoping it will do the job the way I want it to. It comes with a 3-year warranty. I think it's 60 or 90 day. They give it back to you. First of all, I paid, well, I didn't pay for it. My wife paid for this with her own money. So, you know, there's no bias here. If this thing is good, bad, or otherwise, I will tell you. So you will have a good, honest, true, whether or not a homeowner, do-it-yourselfer, can be happy with a welder like this. And whether or not, you know, it'll do what it says it's going to do. Because I have a few projects lined up for this. I'm hoping it'll help me get some more stuff done on my Mustang a little bit nicer. At some point I'd like to do some suspension stuff on that. So I really wanted a better machine. I don't trust that other one to do suspension stuff. So anyway, that's down the road, neither here nor there. I'm going to open the box up. Unboxing here. It came with the instructions in the top here. Everything in here so far looks like it's packaged really well. So I'm pretty happy about that. Start moving things out. So I started pulling this out and I noticed the little knob here, but when it came out, it's just hanging here. So you got to be real careful with that you don't yank this out of here and this goes flying, because you will end up with broken pieces here. And here's the regulator. It's a fairly inexpensive one, I would say, but it should do the job from what I've seen. And there's the welder. So far everything looks really good, looks well packaged. Doesn't appear to be any damage as of right now. So we're going to pull this out and it'll be completely out of the box. And here's the other box that comes with the spool gun, comes with your chintzy welding helmet. I don't really, I guess if you want to watch somebody weld. And here's some of the accessories here. Went ahead and took them out of the bag here so you could get a closer look at them. You got, you know, your welding helmet that, you know, nobody's going to really weld with, but these do work good if you're trying to teach somebody else how to weld. You know, you can easily maneuver it. Comes with a lens there. Also, I plan on maybe adapting this to see if I can hopefully cover up my camera and get some better welding shots. We'll see. And then you got your tips for the actual torch here. And I almost put them together, and I'm thinking I shouldn't do that. As far as I should make sure I know which is which, because this has, I believe, an 023 and an 035 and an 023 tip, which is for your torch, your MIG welding torch. And then this one has, I don't know what it is, like an 030, and then I don't know what the other one, 035. Which is for the aluminum welder. So, I mean, I'm sure it'll all work, but these might only be the sizes that work on the aluminum welder, is why they put that with the aluminum welding stuff. And then I'm sure, depending on if you can get more rollers and things like that for the welding machine, you can use different sizes as far as that too. But also, you don't want to be using your aluminum tips and then changing them over, or using them for welding and then changing them over to your aluminum welder. You don't want to cross-contaminate. So I'm going to keep those with the aluminum in this box. These are going to go in my little box. I'm hoping that the ones at Harbor Freight that I bought will actually work with this. We'll see. And the rest of this will probably be put in the box for now. Got the grounding clamp. Grounding clamp actually does look surprisingly decent. On film, when I watched other videos, they say that, but it doesn't really look it on film. But I mean, it's not totally high dollar or anything, but it's got a good tight spring, and it's got the copper piece in there that kind of puts both sides together, so if one side or the other isn't quite as good of a ground, it'll work off of either side. So it's a surprisingly okay clamp. Cord's a little small, but that's one thing about this machine. I would say the power cord and these kind of cords are a little bit smaller than what I would like for the amperage going through them, but otherwise so far quality looks alright. And then in here we got it appears to be the actual spool of welding wire in here. At first I thought it was the aluminum welding wire, but I didn't see that, or not the aluminum, I didn't see the regular spool of wire like in the machine or anywhere else, so I'm assuming the aluminum wire, and I'm assuming correctly, the aluminum wire is actually inside the gun already for the aluminum for this. So, and it comes with another book for your aluminum or for your spool gun. I call it, I mean, really, you could take this gun, and actually where I worked at, there was a guy that brought a spool regular welding wire through one of these. But also what I've heard is once you use regular welding wire with one of these, you cannot any longer use it for aluminum, or you shouldn't. I don't know if you can't, but you shouldn't. I don't know all the story, but that's just something I heard. So you can take that for what it's worth. Looks like the wire for the gas cylinder, when I get that, I already showed this to you, and I will show you the gun more when I get to that part of putting it on. And here's the machine in all its glory here. You know, you got that infinite adjustable thing that everybody raves about. I don't know a whole lot about it, other than it is nice to have actual arc voltage rather than a high and low button. You know, I could tell you heads or tails whether or not that's a great thing or not. It seems like a good idea to me. I've used several machines. I've talked about this. I use several machines in different schools and things, and they click, 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 and you get just as where you want. But I can also say I've used a lot of those machines, and I never had any problem figuring out where to make the weld work. So whether or not that is as big a deal as people make out of it, you know, that's up to you guys to decide, and we'll find out. I've never used it, so I may love it. Who knows? All I know is this machine's way better than what I have. Your on-off switch in the front, which I like that, and your plug in the back, which I like. That's one thing about my other one I didn't like, is the plug is actually on the front. And this just seems right to me. I know in other countries they have to have them different ways, so I'm glad this one is made this way. Now we'll go inside here. I've actually lifted this up already once, and I was pleasantly surprised in here, because I think I remember people talking about this part being all plastic and stuff, and it's not. It looks, I don't know if it's aluminum here. I mean, it appears to be aluminum. The bolts, nuts and bolts are steel. That part's steel, but the actual body is aluminum. It's on what appears to be a plastic, you know, the casing around it is kind of plastic, but the actual unit is aluminum. But like I said, on the videos I saw, you could actually see into this section, and you could see your piece go into here. So something about this, I gotta say, it's very well built looking anyways, and compared to a lot of the videos I looked at, like I said, it's definitely better built. Like, they've actually taken the suggestions of people, you can tell, and put them into their machine. They're not just trying to, I don't think, you know, throw a super cheap machine out there. It does seem like they are
worried about both cost and quality, and that's the kind of tools I like to buy. When I can buy them for a good cost and get at least decent quality out of them. It has the so you can have the bigger spools of wire. You can pull this off, put the smaller one on that comes with it, and I do actually like that because a lot of people don't realize if you get those big giant spools, after a while your wire will actually start corroding or oxidizing, I should say, if you don't use it after a while. So actually, if you don't do a lot of welding, kind of like me, you know, you're actually better off using the smaller spools, even though cost effective wise it is cheaper to buy a bigger spool. Anyhow, that's neither here nor there, just as something I do know about welding equipment. We got the spool gun deal here, so you can switch it between spool gun and your regular torch. I still have to hook all this stuff up. I do like that I have this. We'll see how well it does as far as that. I do wish this came with some sort of a gauge, metal gauge thickness tool type thing. I'm going to have to buy one of those so I have a better idea, because I'm not real good at knowing what gauges are by looking at them. I admit that. I talked before about the, oh, and that's the other thing, I kept lifting up on this trying to get it to close, and it couldn't get it to close. Just give it a good, you know, obviously not too hard, but give it a good whack and it'll close. But I talked about this before, the wire, I'm sure some engineer somewhere said this is the right size wire for what you need. It seems a little thin to me. I don't know what gauge it is, but let's see if it's 300 volt. Looks like 12 gauge. Yeah. It appears to be 12 AWG, so 12 gauge or 3.31 millimeter. So that seems small to me. I mean, if they tell you to use a 6 or 8 gauge extension cord with something like this, then you probably should be using at least 8 gauge wire, I would think, to the plug. But that's just my opinion on that. The whole body is metal, which is nice. Seems fairly thick inside. I'm gonna throw this. There we go. Fairly thick. I don't know how thick that is. Like I said, I can't gauge gauges of thickness on that kind of stuff, but I'll peel the sticker off here. But it seems, I mean, it looks like it'll take a pretty good blow. Plastics up front around here, this area. That's plastic. Knobs are plastic. Plugs metal. Everything else, the handle, you got kind of plastic here, which seems kind of strange to, and then an aluminum handle that sticks in there. Back is pretty well clean. You got your, in case it, you know, so it pops a fuse, you can push the button here. And the part where the gas goes in, so I'm not going to bother showing you all that. Stick that one on there, and then you're going to take it and put it through your little holder here on the side, which just kind of keeps you from pulling the cord any further than that. Kind of holds it in its spot there. Now, if I were to take the flux core wire out and use it in here, I would have to switch, and I'm going to make sure that's on there, switch this wire here and this wire here would just switch. I'd put this one on the red and this one on the black. And then you could use the flux core without the gas. Otherwise, this is the way you want it. If you're using gas for both the spool gun and for just your MIG wire, this is the way you want it. You want the ground cable that you're welding with going to the black, and the piece that's coming off this brass part going to the red. Because I see this, I'm going to mention something here, and I'm sure it says something somewhere. But because this is on here, I would say when this machine is plugged in, there's a good chance that this is all hot. This whole thing here, probably all of this. So you probably, and I don't know this for sure, I'm just going by red usually means hot and power to me, that somehow the power goes through this whole thing. So you definitely want to make sure you unplug this machine, and not only unplug it, but touch that torch to something before you touch anything else in here. So that's what I plan on doing. I would suggest you do the same.
Well, I was going to do kind of a putting it together and a review at the same time, or at least a first look, but that started getting too long. So this is just going to be a what do I think at first, and quite honestly it's been about a week, maybe 2 weeks, and I still haven't been able to use it. As you can see, I went ahead and put it on my other stand that I had from my old one. I have a bottle of gas right here. I have a whole bunch of metal to start building my welding table. And but as far as a first look, so far I'm fairly impressed with the quality of what I see. Yet again, I haven't used it, and as we all know, I usually say the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding is after I use it. So we'll get a pretty good idea here. Hopefully, I'm hoping within the next couple weeks I'll start that video for my welding table. But anyhow, it seems for the money, yet again, and even for more money, but for the money I paid, I'm so far very happy with this machine. So hopefully it works out well and I don't have any problems. But if I do, you'll know about it. Alright, this is Sam, Jack of all, Master none. You all have a good one.